Friday edition of lcpioneers.com live, presented by Pios. We are live on Facebook Live, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m., and archived on our YouTube page, youtube.com/lcpios, connecting you with student athletes, coaches, Lewis and Clark community members, and alumni as we move into the summer, almost the end of May. In fact, our last show for the month of May, crazily enough. And we will continue to try to keep you connected 4 days a week with shows in the future as well. Hi there, I'm Ryan Goff. I am the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers, based out of Portland, Oregon. We are an NCAA Division III institution competing in the Northwest Conference, so other institutions from throughout Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington. And because of the over 430 institutions nationwide with NCAA Division III opportunities for our student athletes to compete all over the country, and also with Lewis and Clark's robust overseas study program, a chance for our students to learn and really have an opportunity to explore and experience different places in the entire world. We've had a lot of great conversations with current and past student athletes and how the overseas study program has impacted them. So certainly encourage you to check out our YouTube playlist of all of our past shows and see some of the thoughts there. In our Facebook Live comments, you can ask a question for our guests. You can also suggest future guests. Email us sports@lclark.edu or on Twitter and Instagram at lcpioneers. We'll bring in our guest for today in just a few moments. Her name is Peyton Romo. She's a rising junior for Lewis and Clark women's basketball. And this is a team that has virtually the entire roster coming back next year. The vast majority of minutes from a season ago coming back, as they lost just one senior, Blythe Ballesteros, from last year's team. And it's kind of the perfect mix. You have this big junior class that Peyton's a part of, with a third-year head coach in Christina Williams. And a lot of times that's where you see everything kind of come together, especially when you start with a young roster like Peyton's class was. I mean, that crew was kind of set up with the challenge of replacing a great senior class that graduated as they were coming in, that helped the Pioneers to back-to-back conference tournament appearances. So I feel like this is a team that's on the verge of doing that. So we'll talk to Peyton in just a few moments coming up. Excited to share some things that have been happening in the Lewis and Clark athletics world, including some things that have been said by our alumni, including Larry Molum, who's a former Lewis and Clark football student athlete. He was one of many people from the Bates Center for Entrepreneurship and Leadership that sent in a message of resilience. This was kind of on the heels of commencement that was, wow, at this point, 3 weeks ago, which I cannot believe. But just the idea of, this last spring semester is a test that, student athletes and students alike have never had to go through before. And a guy like Larry, who's, founded a very popular restaurant in the Seattle area, Pike Place Chowder, for him to take the time to send in a message of resilience along with many other alumni. We posted those on our Twitter at LC Pioneers on Twitter. Definitely thankful for him and everyone else who sent in those messages, encouraging our students who recently graduated and move into the next phase of their life, which is pretty exciting. Our YouTube playlist is up to date as well, youtube.com/lcpios. That's where you can go and see all of our past shows, catch up on any that you missed. A really good conversation yesterday with Rod Atia, a class of 2019 graduate from men's tennis who just recently graduated from a pretty solid entrepreneurship graduate program at Babson College. So it was fun to talk to him about what's ahead in his future as well. Again, invite you to get in touch with the show, LC Pioneers, on Twitter and Instagram. In the comments below, you can ask questions as we bring in our guest. She is a rising junior for Lewis and Clark women's basketball and recently declared major this past season. So we'll talk to her about what's ahead academically as well. She's Peyton Romo joining us on lcpioneers.com live. Peyton, appreciate you taking the time to kind of close out our week and talk some women's hoops with us. Curious how your summer has been treating you on the heels of what, I mean, arguably is hopefully the oddest semester you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. And it's been good being home. I've definitely been having lots of yummy food. My mom has been cooking, so that's been nice. But yeah, the weather's been nice. I've been going to the beach when I can because I know I don't get to necessarily do that when I'm on campus. But for the most part, I've been working out a lot. Coach Ange, luckily, has provided us. We have this new app that she gave us towards the end of our season where she has all our workouts listed for us, and we can do them whenever we want during the day. So I've been keeping up with that, as well as I'm very fortunate I have a basketball hoop in our backyard. So I've definitely been getting my shots up, training, shot wise, moves, and then also trying to get in some speed training because that's definitely going to be an emphasis on our team this upcoming season. But it's been good, definitely adjusting to the new normal. And I'm happy that I'm able to be with my family during this time, as especially my younger sister. There's a 10-year age gap between us. So whenever I see her when she comes to visit me on campus, it's like, oh my gosh, you've grown 2 inches. So it's nice that I'm with her during this time because she's at an age where every time I see her, she looks different. So they get an extra 2 months of me being home, which my family I know is excited about. Yeah. So I think freshman year was definitely a learning experience for most of our class coming in. There was 5 seniors, 8 sophomore or 8 freshmen coming in, only 2 sophomores, so and no juniors. So it was kind of like an odd, like I guess personnel of where the people were coming from the classes. But I think I definitely just was very present freshman year, just trying to learn. We had obviously Coach K was her first year as a head coach with us, new offense, new defense, and then coming in and then not getting a lot of playing time, which I was, trying to figure out what my role was going to be on the team and for the next season. And then going into the summer, before last season, I think I was just super motivated, like, a big class just left and there's definitely opportunity for all of us to play. And I think I kind of went with it and ran. So beginning, I think practices were really hard, and it was just like you got to go 110% and just give it your all. And then when you get the chance to be on the floor, you have to perform. And I think I got the hand was dealt to me, and I think I performed and did well, and I think I embraced my role that the team needed from me, whether that was on the floor, off the floor, just being a voice, and definitely being someone who can handle pressure and be able to release pressure from our point guards when needed to break the presses. I think I got super comfortable with the offenses that we were running and being confident and knowing when to make correct passes, when not to. And then yeah, Coach K would always give me feedback on what she wanted me to do, and I would listen and I would try to do that to the best of my ability, whether that be helping our point guards or shooting when I needed to shoot. And also Coach Scott was awesome about getting in extra workouts. So whenever it wasn't practice, we were still having like unofficial practices with like him and training for like 3 times, 4 times a week outside of practice for an hour in the gym. And then for me, a lot of those workouts just consisted of just 3-point shots. So I think I really became confident in myself and what I could do, in knowing that like we can do that. And I think this upcoming season is going to be super important for our team because I think 8 out of our 10 conference games we lost by single digit numbers, and we were competing with some very competitive teams in our conference. And now that we know that we can do it, we just have the mentality. We need to have the mentality this upcoming season that like we can win these games and compete with these girls, and that's definitely going to be a focus on within our culture, like having a winning mentality, doing our job, executing what we need to execute, and like giving 110% and like controlling the controllables. We talk about all these different things. They're all like little mottos, but it's definitely stuff that we talk about day in and day out in our program. And like, especially last season, not having necessarily a lot of wins. And our season's very long, so it's like you have to find the positives within like even the losses of like what did we do well. And like I think towards the end of the season, things were falling together, and it was like so fun to be a part of, like getting a couple wins underneath our belt and being like, wow, we just beat Linfield. Wow, we just beat Puget Sound. Like we can do this. And then now it's just stringing together 4 consecutive good quarters. It can't just be like we're playing well 2 quarters and then 2 other quarters we're not like defending well and then they're scoring a lot of points. So now we have 6 freshmen coming in, which is a lot. So we're gonna have a big roster. We're gonna have 17 girls on our team, which is gonna be exciting because there's just more people in our family. And then just taking them underneath our belt, showing them the ropes, and getting them like motivated and ready to run with what we have been building the last 2 years. And I like can't wait to see where like this next season takes us for sure.
She's Peyton Romo joining us on lcpioneers.com live, Rising Junior for women's basketball. We're on Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 on Facebook Live and archived on youtube.com/lcpios. And I think you talk about the sense of team and you're welcoming such a big incoming class, but I felt like your squad has always been really solid at, kind of acclimating these new players to the system and to the culture. It seems like a really welcoming group. And I don't think there's anywhere that's been more apparent than your social media game in the off season. I mean, I imagine that the Zoom calls with your team to kind of keep everyone together while everyone was off campus are pretty naturally enjoyable because you seem like you just miss each other so much, and that was reflected in some of the Instagram things like the poses and the dribbling handoffs. Describe, that culture and how it was reflected in some of those Instagram things you've been doing.
Yeah, I think it's something that I love that I'm a part of and I'm super thankful for because it's not the case for all teams that everyone just generally gets along and we're all here for the right reasons. And our team just, I don't know what it is, but we all really, really care about each other. And it's just so great to be part of. Everyone has their backs, everyone wants everyone to succeed in their own way. And I will definitely say that some of these girls are going to be like my lifelong friends. Like I have no doubt that like they're going to be my wedding, and like hopefully I'm in their wedding. But I love it, and I guess we saw is great on social media, and then we have Coco Schiffer, who also is kind of in charge of the social media on our team as well. She's constantly giving us like weekly like challenges, whether that be like before the week or writing down things that you're grateful for, or extra lessons that you're doing outside of basketball. She's like very on top of it and keeps us on our toes what we're going to be doing each week. Um, so she's come up with a lot of the challenges too. Like, let's do this TikTok thing. And everyone's like super for it, and it's been fun because the videos are actually super cute, and I love it. But yeah, we're just really fun group to be part of. I have a lot of pride that I'm on the basketball team because I think we have that reputation the last years of just being like a super fun group of girls and like want to hang out with us is like what I like to say in my head. But and now we're just adding more people to the mix, so it's going to be definitely a big group of girls. But I'm super excited, and I've been in touch with some of the freshmen, and they all seem like super nice, and I just can't wait to like meet them in person and start playing basketball with them.
Now, thinking about the pandemic and everything that's happened to move everyone off Lewis and Clark, you have to finish your spring semester at home remotely. How has the pandemic affected, you or just even being in the state of California? I'm curious, giving us a snapshot of how it's impacted people there.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, like right the first like month and a half, it was personally also really hard for me. I think because I'm like so used to being around a bunch of group of girls or like just like friends on campus, and then now it's kind of like cooped up in my home, not knowing what to do, and you kind of almost go like stir crazy if you're not like staying active. And I think like luckily there were still like hiking trails and stuff available for me to like go out outside and get fresh air. The beaches recently reopened, which have been nice to be able to have like that to do, and that's like very outdoorsy, obviously. But it was it wasn't like the best in the beginning, and I think as things are starting to change in the next few weeks, the past week, it's definitely been better. It's still an adjustment. I think day by day things are changing, and it's like no one really knows what's going to happen, which is the unknown is kind of scary at times. But I'm just lucky that I have a great support system, and like whenever I was like going through something, I always like texted like the team or like one of the girls on the team like, hey, let's talk, like I need to talk to someone. Because it is definitely hard to not be around like people my age every day, or like I have a 10-year-old sister, so then things are different. And then it's like me and my parents, and then I have a twin brother as well, and he's kind of doing his thing. He was doing online school as well, and he finished a few weeks after we took finals, and he's looking to transfer to a UC this next year. But definitely an adjustment and just rolling with the punches. So right now I'm good. I've been better. I'm better now than I was a couple months ago.
Hey, I feel you. I mean, I'm doing a show from my bedroom in Salem, Oregon, and I feel like I've been in the house nonstop for that long. I miss people absolutely, so I'm on board with you. She's Peyton Romo joining us on lcpioneers.com live, Rising Junior for women's basketball. And this past year, you declare rhetoric and media studies as your major. What was it about that track that really interests you and ultimately made you decide that that's what you're going to pursue for your degree?
Yeah, I was kind of juggling between psychology and rhetoric, so I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. Coming in as a freshman, I was super interested in kinesiology. Little backstory, I had ACL surgery twice now, and I broke my hand. So I've had like several injuries in high school. I was coming in freshman year right after an ACL injury, unfortunately. And I had great physical therapists. I was like, oh, I really want to do that. Like, I think that'll be super interesting, and I think I could do really well in that field. And then LC, because it's so small, it doesn't have a kinesiology program. I'd have to be like a bio chem, and that isn't really necessarily my mojo. So I was like, I don't know. And then me as a person, I really am. I don't know. I love being organized and like planning things and like having my own personalized planner with my name on it and like super weird and dorky. But I was like, I've always kind of been interested in event planning. And so I was like, what's like the best major route for me to pursue that career? And I thought rhetoric in media studies would be the best for me in that field. And then I'm also taking some psych classes still. So I don't, you can't unfortunately minor in psych, but I have like an emphasis in psych. I've already taken, I believe, two psych classes, and I'm taking another one this in the fall, which I'm excited about. But this fall, I'm going to be taking two rhetoric classes. I believe media design and criticism and rhetorical criticism, and then I'm taking um, social psych, and then I believe ethics. So I'm definitely gonna have a full load in the fall. It's not gonna be like an easy load of classes, but I'm ready to take it on. But yeah, I'm excited to see where rhetoric takes me, and I'm hoping. I'm planning on trying to stay in the summer one year because Portland is beautiful in the summer, and like we leave right when the weather's like the best. So I'm hoping I am on campus during the summer, or not living on campus, but like living in Portland in the summer next year, and even possibly trying to do one of the event planning jobs that LC offers, which I also think is a great thing to put on my resume and just learning experience, of course. So we'll see, but that's kind of in the back of my mind of what I think I maybe be doing a year from now.
Well, and what I love about that story is it speaks to two advantages of going to Lewis and Clark. One, you may think you're going to go this direction, and all of a sudden you decide to pivot this way, but still getting some experience in maybe the original realm. And then also because Lewis and Clark's campus does produce so many different events that if you decide to pursue something like event planning, there's opportunity to get that practical experience. And you have had some of that practical experience working in the training room, and that might be speaking to the original thought of what you plan to do. But still, I'm curious two things. Can you describe what it's like to be a student working in the training room and some of the opportunities that you've taken away from it, but also being a student athlete and having such a big and dedicated training staff, athletic training staff available to you?
Yeah, I think coming as a freshman, Alex Krager worked in the training room, and I mentioned to her like coming off an ACL, I was like already in the training room a lot, and she was like, "You should talk to PD and like get a job." And I had work study, luckily, so I was like, "Okay." And I literally started working in the training room. I think like a month into school, and I loved it because I already kind of knew what it was about, just being in a physical therapy office like for a good amount of time before in the past. And I think it's definitely something athletes need to utilize while they're on campus because there's so much that the training room has to offer, whether it's like prehab or rehab. And like you have an injury, they can totally set up like workouts for you to like get better. And then also just if you're sore, they can help you. If you have like tightness in certain areas of your body, they can give you certain exercises to relieve like tension in your muscles. And also just the relationships. Like I love all the people that work in the training room, and I think some people come in and don't necessarily know how to interact with some of our trainers because they're like, "Oh, I've never been here before." And then once you become like a regular, I would say, or you ask them questions and you're interested about like you need to do for your body at that time, or just interested in them. They're people too. Um, I love them all. And then luckily this past summer I was able to help out during football camp. So I got to campus mid August, I believe, like August 15th. So a few weeks before classes started, and it was great. You learn a lot. I've learned a lot about like how to tape, for instance, like simple tape jobs, whether it's like wrists, fingers, your hand, or like ankles. I've learned. I haven't actually done an ankle tape for someone who's like gonna like go practice or play on it, but I've done it just on like the other trainers and working at that time. But it's definitely, you learn a lot, and you also learn how to act with, interact with like other athletes that you may not have ever met because of, you know, just your life. But I've like definitely made a lot of friends in the athletic community on all teams, which is also something I love. I can, you know, I have my group of girls, but I also have other people I can go to, which is something priceless. So I love the training room, and I think I'll be working there the next 2 years. I don't see why not. I also make money from it, but I also really enjoy it. So it's definitely a win-win situation for me.
Yeah, I mean that's a neat thing too about going to any real NCAA institution. You have access to this athletic training staff, but the thing that's neat about Lewis and Clark's is they've been so cohesive. I mean, Mark Petrock, who is the head athletic trainer at Lewis and Clark, has been there since 1989, and Jeremy and Tara, who are the other full-time athletic trainers, I mean, they've been there for a very long time as well, and that adds a cohesion that I think really rubs off. And I do know, I talking to other student athletes, the way that you describe that training room is kind of be a home away from home is certainly a place where a lot of student athletes bond. So I think that's a testament to that staff that is there. Peyton, we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the summer, and certainly excited to have you back on campus. Get an opportunity to see what this women's basketball team does. I mean, the one thing about having your coach is she's taken that program to the highest moments that they've had in the last decade and a half. And so I'm sure that she's eager to see what you guys can do. Keep that shot up, and we're looking forward to seeing you back on campus.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
That's Peyton Romo joining us on lcpioneers.com live. Yeah, that team, as she talked about, I mean, it is a tremendous group of people. I think welcoming is certainly true about the way that they make you feel. The basketball season is interesting because, you know, the fall sports, there are about five different teams that are competing at once. And in the spring, you have about nine teams competing at once. But when you look at the wintertime, there's only four with the two swimming programs and both basketball programs competing. And so it's a moment during the school year where things kind of slow down. And because of that, I think you have an opportunity to maybe get to an extra practice that you otherwise wouldn't get to. And you notice it right away when you walk into the women's basketball program, whether it's a practice or if they're on the bus or before a game or after one of their games is over and the men's game is going on. If you have a chance to interact with them, certainly a great group of people that Coach Williams and Coach Pasapi are developing. And I think that's a testament to them. The new incoming freshmen, I think, are going to find a really strong family this upcoming year. And so I'm excited to see what they can do competitively as well, because I know that the wins total that they put up the last 2 years is not what they want, but you can see the rise. And that's what's been really cool about the last couple seasons. So big thanks to Peyton for joining us and talking about that on lcpioneers.com live. Here's what we have ahead. I'm really excited about next week too, because we can talk more basketball with head coach Tim McCrory of the men's basketball program on Wednesday. But Maka Vivas will join us on Tuesday. She is a rising junior for the women's tennis program. And if you talk about passion, I mean, we're going to have back to back guests who definitely show you that passion that they have for their team in Peyton today and Maka on Tuesday. Tom Lehman will join us on Thursday. He is a longtime staff member of College Outdoors, which is another department within the Division of Student Life, like athletics is. And so, if you ask maybe all 2,000 plus of our undergraduates and say, hey, what's a moment that's really impacted you? A lot of them will say, I mean, majority of them will say, certainly new student trips. If they've taken a new student trip through College Outdoors, it really leaves a 4 year impact on them, if not longer, at Lewis and Clark. So excited to see why Tom thinks that is, you know, what it is about College Outdoors that makes a difference in the student experience at Lewis and Clark. And then Owen Defner, breakout freshman for men's cross country. Outstanding contribution to that team as they went from last to third at the Northwest Conference Championships in his first season. Really excited to talk to Owen. We have Aaron Kong of women's swimming and Sammy Benbow scheduled as well ahead. Sammy, a member of the baseball program, coming up on lcpioneers.com live. So everyone who was able to join us this week, big thanks to them. You can find all of our old shows, youtube.com/lcpios, and we will be back with you again on Tuesday for more of the show. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us. Big thanks to Peyton for joining us, and big thanks to you for watching. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday for more lcpioneers.com live on Facebook Live and archived on YouTube. Goodbye, everybody.
Lewis and Clark is amazing.
Beautiful campus, small classes.
When you really come here, you get this sense and the feeling that this is a place that you could spend 4 years.
I was so comfortable learning and growing here.
There's no ostentation, there's no pretension, no status. Everyone's just here to learn.
To this bustling metropolitan area.
The overseas program is giving you the opportunity to explore the world, go to places that you never thought of. Just come here, just visit the school, and you're gonna fall in love with it.
It's time to explore Lewis and Clark.
I'm Ann Bentley. I'm an associate professor of chemistry, and in this research group, I supervise the 2 students working in the Rogers program this summer in our lab. The brown bag experience is a good chance for students to get experience presenting their work that they've done in the lab, especially to an audience that's not technical.
What's intriguing about the brown bag experience is it incorporates all of the Rogers program. So I'm able to hear people in the psychology department and what research they're doing, but it also gives us the opportunity to share our research with the greater science community at Lewis and Clark. And for incoming students, the summer program is really beneficial for getting opportunity in research. So I've had the opportunity for research in the past, but other students may not have the same opportunities. So it's nice to work in a professional lab setting and potentially have the opportunity to publish a paper, which looks really good moving on into doing professional research out in the field.
The students grow a lot during the summer in their ability to learn the techniques and apply the techniques and suggest their own ideas for what could come next and interpret their data. It's just a big, usually if they haven't done research before, they learn a lot in that short period of time.